Good morning, friends, and welcome to my today's new lecture on Ranasa Part 3. I had already spoken in my last few lectures as to what Ranasa is, what does it mean, why is it called so, and a few characteristics of the Ranasa age. Ranasa means revival, reawakening, and revived interest in something. After that, when I spoke about a few characteristics, among them, in the first place, I spoke about the new learning. In the second place, I spoke about the new religion, where the very basis of institutionalism of Roman Catholic Church was struck by the Reformation, which was led by Martin Luther. And here it was Protestantism, which was grounded on the individual's inner experience of the spiritual struggle and salvation. And faith was the only alone thought competent which would save, and salvation itself was regarded as a direct transaction with God. For that reason, Protestantism was sometimes said to be even an extreme manifestation of the Renaissance individual in the Northern Europe, and it soon developed its own institutionalism in the theocracy proposed by Calvin and his Puritan followers. In the third place, I talked about a new world where, acting on the persisting belief of the Greek idea that the whole world is a globe, Columbus tried to find a way to the east, and so he sailed west. But he faced frustration because a new continent posed a hassle in his mission. Now, England at this time, England was taken into the center rather than at the edge, and there had been an economic exploitation of the world. To establish the commercial prosperity in England as it was in Italy earlier, it was necessary, though not a sufficient condition, for the development of a vigorous intellectual and artistic life. And now I'll be talking about the fourth characteristic, that is the new cosmos. The cosmos of the medieval astronomy and theology was Ptolemaic. Ptolemaic, that is, it was based on an astronomy of Ptolemy in 2nd century AD. And it pictured a stationary earth around which rotated the successive spheres of the moon, the various planets, and the fixed stars. Heaven, or the Empyrean, it was thought to be situated above the spheres, and hell was to be situated either at the center of the earth or, as we see in Dante's Inferno, or else below the system of the spheres, as has been shown in Milton's Paradise Lost. In 1543, Copernicus, he gave, or rather published, his new hypothesis concerning the system of the universe. This new hypothesis gave a much more simpler and more coherent explanation of accumulating the observations of the actual movements of the heavenly bodies, which had led to the greater complications of the Ptolemaic world picture. Now, the Copernican theory, it pictured, or it showed a system which accepts the sun as a center instead of the earth, and the earth, instead of being stationary here, is shown as mobile and revolving around the sun like many other planets. Investigations have not validated the earlier assumption that the world picture of Copernicus and his followers delivered, or rather gave, an immediate and profound shock to the theological and secular beliefs of the thinking man. Now, for example, in 1611, when John Donne, he wrote in his The First Anniversary that new philosophy calls all in doubt, for the sun is lost and the earth. And so, right in order to support the ancient theme of the world's decay and enforce a standard Christian contemptus mundi. Still later, Milton in Paradise Lost expressed a suspension of judgment between the Ptolemaic and the Copernican theories. And he adopted the old Ptolemaic scheme for his own poems because it was more firmly traditional and more or better adapted to his imaginative purposes. In the long run, much more important was the effect of the general principles and the methods of the new science of the great successors of Copernicus, such as the physicist Kepler and Galileo, and the English physician and physiologist William Harvey, on the opinions of men. Now, what did men think about these principles and methods? And the cosmos of many Elizabethan writers was not only Ptolemaic, it also acted as a subject to God's providence. Besides, it was also an animated universe invested with the occult past, inhabited by the demons and spirits, and often thought to control men's lives by stellar influences and to be itself subject to control by the powers of witchcraft and that of magic. Now, the cosmos that emerged in the 17th century as a product of the scientific procedure or of constructing exact hypotheses capable of being tested by precisely measured observations was the physical universe of the René Descartes. Now, Descartes wrote, in quotes, "Give me extension and motion, and I will construct the universe," unquote. This universe of Descartes and the new science consisted of extended particles of matter which moved in space according to the fixed mathematical laws, entirely free from the interference by angels, demons, human prayers, or occult magical powers. And it was subject only to the limited manipulations of the scientist, who in Francis Bacon's phrase had learned to obey nature in order to be her master. In this way, the working hypotheses of the physical scientist were converted into the philosophical worldview, which was made current by many popular expositions and together with the methodological principle that controlled observation rather than tradition or authority. It is the only test of truth in all areas of knowledge which helped constitute the climate of the 18th century opinion, which was known as the Enlightenment. Thank you, friends, and I'll be coming up with another topic of mine in my next lecture. Till then, goodbye.